pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody have any questions or corrections on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I second. Have a second. All in favor?
Is the machine on?
You want to go ahead and get the claims out of the way?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
That one's.
Have a motion for a claim.
It's on postage.
Second.
Postage machine.
All in favor?
A couple meetings ago, you asked me to send a letter to Peabody about their 5-year plan. And last meeting, I think you reported they were working on it. One of their landmen, Ed Hartsburg, and his boss called me one day last week. They were up here meeting with the mine superintendent then. And he hoped to have everything ready for us the first meeting in March.
Will they be sending a representative to explain stuff, or they just want to drop it off?
He didn't care, he just wanted us to let him know whether they just wanted a plan, submitted to Benji to bring it forward, or if we wanted someone actually here in person. They didn't care, they just wanted to know.
Benji just told me before the meeting that they asked if he and I could meet him Friday.
Oh, okay. You guys.
They're supposed to have the map ready then.
It'll be ready then? Okay, good. We talked at one time about going after a couple of old stagnant, large landfill bills. And I wanted to check and make sure if that's what we wanted to do. We want to go ahead with proceeding to try and collect on those. I thought somebody may have told me one time, maybe one or two more.
One from Vigo County, I spoke with, I believe it's Vigo County, or Terre Haute Redevelopment, I believe.
Yes.
Bill Lee is the attorney, and he is looking into that for us.
Okay, so I'll hold up doing anything till I hear from you.
Hopefully he can do us more good than.
Good, especially if there's any money yet on projects that's already done. So,
Well, I think they're his biggest employee.
okay, so I'll hold up on that. Last few days I've reviewed something here on elevator contracts for Brenda. We had the fella come, was it last meeting? And propose, Mike Bear came last meeting and proposed us using him and his company to do the elevator inspections, maintenance, and all that kind of stuff. And then we've got an old agreement here with, is it AMC? AMCO. But Brenda said she just got another contract from AMCO for us to sign. So we're kind of, yeah, it's coming up. So as far as our elevator service and maintenance people, we got Mike Bear, and then we have the one that's our existing one we use coming up. So we probably better make a decision as to whether to have people here to address the commissioners, or either you guys make a decision. You don't want to sign an new contract with the old company if we're gonna switch to a new. So I just bring that up for you guys to consider. I've also looked over a contract, it's actually an amendment to a contract for Vicky on the appraisal services for the 2012-2014 time period. And there's a few changes, but nothing that's detrimental to the county, so I told her it looked good. And I think that's all I have for you.
On the elevator, was there any cost comparisons there, or?
Well, I haven't seen the new one that AMCO has proposed yet, and all I know about Mike Bear is what he proposed here
I
last
can
week.
call them and have them both come in at the same time, if you want to.
What are we currently paying compared to what has been proposed?
We're currently paying $19.56 a year.
Okay, what's the,
I don't know what the
That's
other one is.
160 some per month.
Mhm.
oh, not,
I don't know what his is. He didn't actually give us he just said he could save us some money. He didn't tell me what. So he would have to come back and present what he would do it for.
Yeah, AMCO's 1956 per year.
but that doesn't cover probably any components, that's just general.
That's the monthly inspection.
Just the monthly
and
inspection.
Annual report submission of it, but it's not the,
Not the parts and all that stuff.
I know that the fellow that was here the other evening, he used to take care of the
yeah,
elevator.
in fact, the old contract
He's
that's
from
in here
somewhere.
from 1995 was executed by
Was him.
when he was
His,
with
he
AMCO.
said 200 a month for full maintenance is what he quoted you.
200 a month.
For full maintenance, everything,
That's everything.
is what he stated,
Okay.
and a 30-day out.
And what does AMCO have full service, is that what they're?
No, this is just inspection. If they have to do anything to it.
Where's he from?
Mike Bear, I think it was Terre Haute.
It's around here close somewhere, because he said he, could get here quick.
For $2,400, I don't mind saving him the trip, let's just let him do it. For the,
Yeah, the new cost, the new estimate.
if it's full service.
That's what he stated,
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to see what his contract said, but that's what he stated to you.
Includes some oil and.
Why don't you, with your guys' permission, I'll have Brenda contact him and submit his proposal, his contract, and then let me look at the new one that AMCO submitted.
Okay.
So that I can look at both of them that way, and maybe next meeting I
We'll
can
see
say,
what
here's
first
how they
full
stack
service
up.
he is.
Yeah.
And you can ask him that, Brenda, if you don't care
Okay.
what that pertains to and how much.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
Benji?
Ray handed me a request from Bay Geophysical for a cable crossing. What they do is just lay a cable across the road while they're doing a seismic survey. And they'd like permission to do that.
They're just gonna lay it across and not.
There's no disturbance of the right of way at all, so.
And it's at 200 north, is that?
That is 50 north, right there by Allen Challenge, right there to 63.
He said he's done that before. The
Yeah, he
county
has done that
it
before. Yep.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Is that your motion, Lee?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we,
Have motion, Martin?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
And I also gave you guys a copy of some figures there for repaving 200 West for your perusal. That's all I've got.
I don't have anything.
You took care of you earlier.
You already done it.
on with old business? On that, hey?
Thank you. I'll be brief. As president of the Park and Lake Board, we wanted to come to the commissioners, as we have already approached the council, about applying with the Division of Workforce Development as a seasonal employer. The reason we want to do this is because about 2/3 of our labor out at the Park and Lake is seasonal. There are some benefits to us as a park board for registering as a seasonal employer. Primarily, we give them a start date and an end date. I think there are a lot of state agencies and federal agencies that utilize seasonal employers. I don't know that we've ever applied in the past. I can't tell you that. I know that the park has never really utilized true seasonal employers, and that seasonal determination is based upon DWD standards. We think we can probably fit within the criteria to do that, and the biggest thing, it will save us $25,000 a year or more in unemployment benefits. Probably we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 full-time employees right now, the bulk of which, the additional employees obviously come sometime between March 1st and April 1st. We're usually full staff April 1st up to the end of August. We feel like we meet these DWD standards, and the reason we thought it would be in everybody's best interest to seek the approval of both the commissioners and the council is that we have to make application to DWD for their approval as a seasonal employer in the name of Sullivan County. We can't just do it in the name of a county agency. Yeah, I've got a publication here, more than welcome to look at, but I know there were some questions that were addressed to us about whether or not all county employees could be seasonal, and that's not the case. As part of this application procedure, we have to provide specific job descriptions and start date, end date, and exactly the reason for this being seasonal employment. We have them sign a stipulation, which we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years anyway. The employees know when their start date is, when their end date is. So at the end of that season, they're not truly laid off. We're not truly terminating their employment. It's seasonal employment, if you will. So we wanted to get your approval to do this, obviously, because it has to be done in the name of Sullivan County rather than just the Sullivan County Park and Lake.
By doing this, you don't plan to change any of your full-time status?
No, this only affects the seasonal employees, yes.
But you don't plan to make more people seasonal?
No.
Plan to keep them all?
No, sir, we don't. We hope not. We'd like to get more full-time people.
How soon do you need an answer on this?
We got the council's approval, I think, back in November, December. We would like to make application as soon as we can, because obviously we're going to start hiring here in the next 30 days.
Are you guys gonna generate the job description, or?
We do, yes. Yep, we'll generate the any other attachments or the rest of the application. We'll generate that for you.
So you won't really be doing anything any different than you ever have done, you're just gonna do it more officially than you've ever done?
Yes, sir. And typically, we've got a line item of, I believe it's $25,000 a year. At least it has the last 2 years. And they may be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but at least $25,000 line item that we did set aside for unemployment benefits. And we have, I know at least since I've been on the board, the last 4 years, we have exceeded that. I don't know that, I think there is a limit to what we can ask for, and it is just that. And we typically end up going over. We don't want to take away anybody's unemployment benefits, but the work is truly seasonal. I mean, the employees have a start date and they have an end date. I mean, we're not terminating their employee, and I think at least the last 4 years, most of the people that complete that seasonal work with adequate performance, they're coming back the next season. So the only other option is if we're paying them for 12 months out of the year, to work them for 12 months out of the year. Does that make sense?
And really, the state's not gonna accept this if you don't meet that criteria to start with, so I don't see a problem with
That's
just
correct.
moving forward. Because if we're not doing it right, the state's gonna boot our application.
Correct.
I move that we go ahead and accept the recommendation.
We have a motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Just bring you the completed application, one of the three ready. I believe it requires one or more signatures from a county official. So I'm just bringing it to you, made it right.
Ray's the president, and Brenda can attest to it if necessary.
If you want me to give it, just tell me who I need to give the completed application to, it's fine.
Ray's the president this year, and then when you attest to something that's a governmental action,
Yep,
the auditor is by law the secretary to the commissioners, so she could attest to
okay.
it.
If it comes where you need all three commissioner signatures, this would be the best place to get it, but otherwise you can drop it off to the auditor's office, and then I'll stop in on Friday and sign it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, did you have anything?
I have called that Matt Doer on those buildings, and I have yet to hear anything back from them. I met with Judy and I met with the dean of the school business down at BU, and they are interested in, like, maybe helping us run our tourism board website and maybe doing some other things. But she's gonna meet with her faculty and meet with the board and figure out what extent they're actually gonna be involved with us. And that's about it. Have you heard anything on the railroad?
Yes,
They,
should be open.
okay.
What I tell you told me, Jane.
Thursday or Friday,
Was that last week?
yeah.
Yeah, it should have been open Thursday,
Okay.
Friday last week.
Well, they said they were going to put gravel in, make it passable at least.
Right. I think that was the beginning of last week, you told me.
So really, nothing concrete.
I think it's open.
I talked to Dave Brooks, but he's getting back.
Should be, yeah, I haven't checked on it, but.
Is that the one, first over north at 300? Because I was up in that area Saturday, I didn't go across the railroad track, but the barrels they had there, the barricades were all in the block.
It was open Saturday.
I presume it was the barricades and the barrels and all that.
I don't mean it was open, though.
Yeah, that,
But we should know more from VU after the board meeting.
We'll jump back. Vicki, did you have anything else besides?
Just to get these signed, see if we can get them signed. It's just a change in wording, basically, no money change or anything, just the way the state wanted it worded.
that's.
Do you have any questions?
Basically, if I could, there is a change, it's dropping off the year 14, and that's because this was signed in February of 2012, and the DLGF didn't have their rules for the next reassessment in place at that time. Once they established their rules, 14 is actually in direct conflict with the reassessment, so they have gone back to each county that signed a contract that included the year 14 and asked them to amend the contracts. This is being done all over the state. Basically, we're removing year 14 from the contract. There's no money change for 12 or 13, it's just removing year 14 from the contract.
So is the total contract prorated, or are we just paying for 2 years, or?
Yes, you'd just be paying 2 years. The language is in there in the amendment.
All right. Yeah, let's approve the amendments to the contract if they're okay with John.
Motion, second.
Second.
All in favor of approving these amendments?
Here on the bottom somewhere.
The last page is a signature page.
Are we up to speed on our reassessment?
We'll talk about that. State's making us get a new system. Yeah, you can't do any assessment without it now. Yeah, there's the, the back side ready. What was the last one?
Correct. Yeah, in the amendment, and actually, when the county gets their copy, we'll have to make a copy. She has an extra copy. It lists in there the amounts for this year and the amount for next year, and there is no amount for the third year.
Like, say again, you've done everything that needs by the state, you can't fight the state.
Yeah, this was all language that was
What I was thinking about, Vicki, was the fact that
between the
it was done on a
DLGFs.
four-year program,
Head
so
of the
that at the end of 4 years, you have the reassessment all done.
Your boss done, it was done a year
But you
ahead
know
of
what I mean?
time.
That was the reason.
But he's the one that
to make
approached,
this
actually,
You mean this one?
amended every
Yeah, well, they changed it,
We've been doing this
they
in every
changed it,
county.
we had ours done, a few counties did, some counties didn't have it done, so they moved it up another year, and then we had to start all over again, because the state said it had been looked at before July the 1st of, what, last year, Bill?
Right.
It had to all be looked at again,
Yeah, we've been familiar with all that.
and just, I mean, it shouldn't have been done that way. I mean, we had lobbyists against it, but didn't do any good. As long as we're done.
Who needed the extra time? Marion
I
County?
don't know for sure which counties do you, Bill?
LaPorte County and Marion County were the big ones. The LaPorte's the one,
I said Marion County.
LaPorte's the one that's, they're still on 2009 right now. They still haven't got.
Oh, yeah, they still,
Anytime Marion County is on
they're still right on the map.
Yeah, and it just killed us.
Yeah, we've
I
had-
mean,
done
it
provisional
really
billings
hurt our
for
county.
years.
Yeah.
To
Our
try and
contract was with
everybody.
us last year, and we've got
They're doing good.
them 3 years, and we moved them forward from 2006 to 2009.
Oh, yeah.
So we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, that's true.
Get all through
That's a
time.
big advance.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Maximus, you here.
Good evening. I'm Jackie Clements with Maximus. This week, I believe the county received a letter from David Bodoff at the AIC, and we are an endorsed vendor by them, and we're working on trying to enhance revenues to counties. In your packet there, you'll see some of the different things we do, and on top you'll see we've done your indirect cost allocation plan now for since 1997, probably prior to that, but our records go back to 1997. And that lists the amount of revenue that you've received from our work for indirect Title 4D reimbursements from the federal government. What we're working on now is, excuse me, we've been brainstorming over the last year trying to find new revenues for counties, and I was a county auditor in 2 different counties, and when I came to work for Maximus a year ago, I noticed that some counties, their courts were claiming 4D reimbursement and some weren't. And I couldn't understand why. And as I got delving and learning more, I realized that this was really a true advantage. This money that is sitting out there is money that's currently spent by your courts when they hear 4D cases, it's their regular expenses. And they're entitled to the reimbursement for those expenses, just like the clerk and the prosecutor. And then we do the indirect costs for you at the end of the year. Most courts weren't claiming it because they felt like it was work they didn't want to do. So we came up with a plan that would eliminate the courts having to do a lot of work, and we basically do it for you. And what it would amount to is the courts would have to do what we call a time study, and they would have to track their time for a brief period of time on what cases they're working on. And there are numerous cases that are entitled to 4D reimbursement. Once they track that time, we would get the information from the auditor's office monthly for the expenditures there, and we have spreadsheets that we use to calculate what money then is entitled for reimbursement, and it's reimbursed at a 66% rate. That reimbursement will go right back into county general where it's spent from. And so through the AIC, we're sending letters out statewide, and we're working with several counties that we've started working with their courts. We currently are in Lawrence County. We just started in Clinton County. We're in Blackford County. We're in Crawford County. These are courts that we've been picked up. I think we picked up 8 courts last year, and so we're hitting a second group, trying to enhance the revenues back into the county. And so we're here this evening to explain that to you so that you might, review it and work with your judges. We'll come down and meet with your judges and set up this cost allocation for reimbursement for them. It also would enhance this the indirect costs that you're seeing in the list. We've noticed that the counties that we've worked with, it's increased this indirect cost plan by about an average of 10 to 20,000 in a county your size. It's all based on your expenditures and of course the cost to operate the county in the indirect plan. The indirect plan picks up your building cost, your insurance, your employee benefits, your auditor's office, your work that you do to maintain the operations of the county, and those where they attribute to 4D, because you house the 4D, you house the courts, you house the clerk. So we're basically here this evening to see if you have any questions, to inform you about it, and hopefully then we can get some working relationships with the courts and move forward and get some reimbursements. We will do a free cost analysis. We would track, if they could track it, we would do a 3-month analysis at no cost to the county to make sure that it's worth your while. And our fee then is sort of based off of that. Our maximum fee is $600 a month, which 2 is reimbursable at 2/3. So a $600 fee really only costs you 2. But we would base that, if you're not bringing in the larger amounts of money, then we would reduce our fee down to what is done. We range anywhere from $350 to $600 a month, based on the size of the county.
What type of case would qualify for reimbursement?
There are numerous ones, but the 4D cases, child support cases that are 4D are the cases that we track. And currently the clerk has a case count that she has. She is able to track hers by a case count in her iSets software system. But the courts hear different cases than what she might be working on, and so they have to track their time. And most courts, we have them track it for anywhere from a week to 3 weeks, depending on the court. I mean, it just depends on how busy they are and what their schedule works out to be to get a true picture. Some courts are real busy for a week. Other courts, it takes 2 weeks to get a true picture.
I guess I'm trying to figure out where this money actually comes from on a court case like this.
Well, it's their time, the court employees' salaries, their benefits, the supplies that the court uses throughout. When they track their 4D cases and we get this time study, we take those expenses and we allocate it by a percentage of time worked toward 4D, and we calculate that percentage and fill out the reimbursement forms.
So how's this different from what you're previously done for us? It looks like you've recovered.
Well, what we're currently doing is indirect cost. We currently do your indirect cost, which is your portions of it. This is direct. There are two different types of federal 4D reimbursement. One is direct for actual labor and benefits of the employees. The other is indirect, which is then the operations of the county. What you're seeing is the indirect cost plans since 1997.
This is like the offices. Or is this
The
the
direct,
prosecutor?
the direct
and
is the
clerk?
office, right. The clerk, the prosecutor, and the court are entitled to direct.
Do you file this, like, do we get money on a monthly basis, or is it just
For the-
settled once a year, or?
For the, it depends on what you're talking about. If it's the
Yeah.
direct, they come monthly.
Mhm.
If it's the indirect, it comes quarterly.
Okay. We don't do indirect right now, right?
Yes, you do.
We do. Is that the
That's
one-
what I
those are
come
the
down
general-
for.
Okay, that's what you come down
Mm-hmm.
for. So the
Yeah.
indirect, which is the IBD
How much money
prosecutor.
you
and clerk, is that
anticipate,
the
you know anything about this?
Go ahead.
How much money you anticipate we would recover
It-
for
they-
a county our size?
We have counties that recover anywhere from $500 a month to $2,500. It all depends on the caseload. It could be a same-size county, but it's the caseload that works. Some counties don't have as many 4D cases as other counties. Jackson County, their court brings in about $3,000 reimbursement a month. We have another county, Martin County, brings in about $500 a month.
How, is there a correlation between this indirect cost and the direct monthly?
Yeah, there is. When the direct costs are higher, the indirect costs at the end of the year then will also be higher because the indirect is based.
So they're correlated?
Yes. And that's the one that, this indirect cost would go up somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for
So-
counties this size.
So based on an indirect reimbursement of $40,000 from 2013, what would you anticipate our 2013 direct?
Okay, the direct is their actual wages. The 40,000 is the indirect. You got two different ones.
Right.
Okay, this 40,000 you're looking at is the indirect that I just completed last fall. I come and I look at all your claims and your building operations, any security, any liability insurance, the work the auditor does. We count the number of claims that's processed through the auditor's office, the payroll we count heads, and that's how we figure the indirect cost.
If you would come down and do a study for us, can you tell us
We would
about
be able to
what
tell
you're
you,
looking
yeah,
at?
the
how
free
much
analysis, we could tell you exactly what we think, because it stays pretty constant after the analysis.
So free study?
It's a free study. We'll do the study at no cost. And the only work to anybody, other than us, is the court has to agree to do their time study. And then the auditor's office needs to give us some reports that take 2 minutes.
John, can you draft a letter to our courts and ask them their opinion on this? And
I think it'd also be helpful to get the prosecutor's office involved.
Yeah, they currently do their own direct, I'm sure.
And this was the question I was gonna get to. There's a lady in the prosecutor's office who does nothing but child support. She has a salary, it's part of the prosecutor's office budget and all that. So I'm curious as to, does any of that include their portion of funds from this program? They also have a deputy prosecutor who's in charge of 4D enforcement actions. And I don't know from where all his salary comes from.
If he's a full-time deputy prosecutor, I think the state gives him one, but those would be direct costs that the prosecutor's office would file themselves. The three offices that are entitled to federal 4D reimbursement are the clerk, the prosecutor, and the courts.
So the prosecutor, for and on behalf of the prosecutor's office,
Correct.
would be filing its own claim.
I believe your prosecutor does, yes.
Yeah, they already do.
Do they?
Mm-hmm. The
Okay.
clerk and the prosecutor both.
And the clerk does
They're
too.
both on the IBD.
So the only ones who aren't doing it are the judges.
We
Right.
received, I think we received, what is it, maybe, because part of the prosecutor, they've actually allocated to go into the infraction deferral to
Yeah.
help pay for the secretary that helps with
Yeah, the money goes back in the fund that's paid from, so if you're paying someone's salary from deferral, then that federal reimbursement will go back to deferral, because their incentive monies are not reimbursable.
I think we currently, did that maybe 10 grand for the both of them a month? I don't know, it's quite
10 grand
substantial.
a month
Yeah,
for both.
and is it quarterly or monthly?
Indirect is monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah, but you're
And that's,
talking
and
direct.
that might be,
Yeah.
yeah, she's talking direct.
Yeah.
And the court would be direct, what we're talking about would be direct. We currently do the indirect for you, we have a contract for
It's a
that.
substantial amount, I mean,
John, can you discuss this with the three courts and see that they'll be on board with it?
I have an extra folder, let me leave that with you, because it has my contact information inside in my card too.
Okay, thank you.
And,
Yeah, I-
you know, what we wanted to do was bring it to your attention. I know as a past auditor, every county's looking for revenue. And one of the services that we're trying to provide our counties is to enhance your revenue. I mean, it's easy to spend money, it's hard to find it. And so this is a way that it's a possibility. And even if it's not enough money for us to do it, if you could get someone here in the county to do it on a direct basis, it still would enhance that indirect plan that we're doing. So, but we would be glad to do the free analysis, because most judges' offices are so busy, they don't want to do the paperwork.
Now, for example, like with the clerk, where she has multiple functions in her office, how would you prorate the time that?
They do. Theirs is by a case count. They track their time, clerk's offices do, and they have an ISETS case count. And they will keep track of how much of their time, not cases, but time, is spent toward 4D. And often a clerk will have one person who's a full-time 4D clerk in her office. And then the same thing happens, you take that and you base a percentage of time worked with your ISETS cases, and that's how you determine the 4D percentage.
But we're currently probably not making a claim for our facilities.
Yes, you are.
We are.
We do that for you annually in the indirect. And it's very confusing. I mean, that's why we sent the letter out, and we're going around when people are interested. It's a very confusing thing, but most times when you get the federal government involved, they are confusing.
Well, we'll have John check with the judges and see if they have interest in.
And I'll check back here in a couple of weeks, but I think that if you can also check with David Bodoff at the Association of Indiana Counties, he might be able to answer any questions, but don't hesitate to call the 1-800 number or my cell number. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does anyone else have any new business? Sheriff, any new business?
Did you talk to the other two?
Yeah, I
gentlemen?
mentioned that, Chance mentioned it to Ray about the FOP being interested in the building.
Yes, and I'd also like to invite you over to the jail one day. I need to show you some things and have somebody there that can explain it if I can't. It's more or less on the 911 radio systems and cameras and rebanding our radio VHFs. Is there a time, or can the three of you meet together?
I can Friday
Friday's fine.
afternoon.
As long as they don't make any decisions, they're just gonna meet
Yeah,
together.
we can go look at the jail, Brian, without any.
Give me a time Friday and I'll look, or you
Your
good
name,
Friday?
I'll be there.
About lunchtime.
How long will we be?
I'd say we'll be back by 11:30.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be long, right?
That'll be great.
1 o'clock, Friday.
That's great.
Don't
Thank you.
forget, Brian, if I do, you'll have to come get me.
All right, you want a reminder?
Either one of us red lights and siren.
All right, Friday.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Brian. Anyone else have any new business? Marvin?
No.
Well, about the only thing I had was, we did get another letter from Jerry Smith to be on the cemetery board. So.
Is there a vacancy?
Yeah, there's there's more than one. He was one who already served, but, he failed his, when we did it originally.
You need a motion to reappoint Larry Smith? You have one.
Jerry.
Jerry.
Okay,
Ray, does that just have to be a county resident, or does that gotta be a town
you
resident?
guys didn't sign it before.
Be on
You
that
need to
board.
sign.
Just as long as they live within the county, I assume, I mean, they can live in city of Sullivan, it wouldn't be a,
Right, but you don't have to live in the city, that's all.
no.
So you'll have to sign that then.
Yeah, right. All in favor of.
Okay, and we also need the one for Judy Benachad. She wanted to-
tourism.
Tourism.
You know, I would take a motion for Judy to be on.
I'll
the
make
chair.
that motion.
Marvin's got a motion. All in favor? Each week I'm getting a packet of the outstanding landfill bills.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that there's any use for us to print all that off.
well, she
For me.
comes in the office and prints all of that.
I realize,
And
but
if you don't wanna, I can tell her, don't print it anymore.
I think
Once it's-
probably the balance sheet would be good enough. I
Just the
mean,
balance sheet.
Yeah, but
Okay.
really, it's kind of good though to see who owes what though.
And I think it's time that we
Mr. Limit.
need to do something different about that. The outstanding debts that I'm seeing on there, some of them aren't real large, but there's a lot of them.
A lot of them, yeah.
And do we need to send a letter to them asking those bills to be caught up?
You mean a demand letter to,
Well,
the different people
yes.
that roll?
Some of them I see on there are the same ones each time I get this information.
See, I've never done any work at all for the landfill or the solid waste. But if they're for people we want to send the handbills to, if we have them marked who's to get them, we can do that, but they bring their account. And if they don't, we cut them off or pursue it.
All right, what I think should be done is we need to have Judy establish the old carry-ons and the ones who linger, and we need to take care of seeing that something's done about trying to collect those. A big one's just as bad as a little one. I mean, some of them have been on there for quite some time. That's all I had.
Well,
Or to cut it off based on either dollar amount or
Length of-
the length of time they've gone without paying anything.
Like, look at that one, we filed a lawsuit in 11, why is that even on our? And that-
I don't know why it's still on there, it says bankruptcy.
You know, there's no use to print that page.
No.
You know, I mean, it's just something else that, needs to be separated or something so that we can try and do something about it and not just keep filing.
What if we could just like keep a hard copy on file at the auditor's office? Because I like the idea of having
just one copy,
Well,
have
you
her
can
print
look.
one copy.
and just
And if you
file, that way, none of
want
that
to
stuff.
continue
You can
doing the
put it
same
in a
thing,
binder.
that's fine. I mean, we can,
Yeah, we can just keep one copy on file.
You can keep it in a binder and label it, so that way if it
They
comes
wouldn't have to
in.
make 3 then.
Well, you know, she does all this on computer, and she lost the program, there'd be no way for us to audit.
and I always hope it's backed up better than that, but maybe not.
It probably isn't.
Anything can happen, can
I'll just keep a file on it.
Is there interest or late fees charged on any of those?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it just keeps adding up, nothing will happen. Does anyone else have anything? All in
Ray,
favor?
what about our health insurance?
Yes, that's. Do we need to advertise?
It's sent to the
We talked
It
paper
was
about
today.
sent to the
Right.
paper today,
Okay.
To take proposals on what date?
up to February the 18th at 4 o'clock.
You got a motion to adjourn?
Okay, I've got a motion and a second, Marvin.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
That wasn't a record, but that wasn't bad.
Yeah, like.
How about that? How'd you rate that? He won't ever miss it.
Actually, almost mine.
He goes outside.